PLC today. We're going to review our PLC vision and norms, discuss intervention needs, examine a support article for intervention, look at my findings from an intervention, and then we can discuss possible next steps. So our Jefferson County vision statement is, of course, all students will graduate prepared, empowered, and inspired to reach their full potential and contribute as thoughtful, responsible citizens of our diverse shared world. Do you want to take turns reading our norms?
Sure.
Okay. We will be kind, courteous, and respectful.
Work together to focus on ideas and not on people.
Speak one at a time.
Explain thoroughly what we mean.
Keep to the agenda.
Start and end on time.
Be present for all meetings. Okay, so the background of the intervention that I used with the second grade group that was struggling was this. So after analyzing that universal screener we have for Ames Web, we grouped the students based on their needs for fluency. Each of us had a group of 6 kids, which was 30% of the second grade class. They needed to be at a baseline of 89 words correct per minute as per that Ames Web program. And then we defined fluency as reading rate, expression, and acumaticity. The homeroom teachers agreed, and then we formed those groups focusing on fluency to build to comprehension. So the article that I found, we used it in our Bellarmine Literacy Project, was That Sounded Good, using whole class choral read. How do you think that went for your groups?
I think the whole class choral reading was beneficial to them because it kind of every day that they kept hearing it, I think it improved their fluency towards the end of it, and it also helped them recognize words they weren't familiar with. Mm-hmm. So I think just keep repeated readings like we were doing really helps with them recognize those words they struggle with or may not know. Helps them with even some phonetic words that they maybe didn't know in the past. Now they know, well, every time I see this phoneme, I know what that should sound like. So.
And I didn't even consider that, like in this presentation, that phonetic side of it. I was just thinking about those words correct per minute, but that is a good point, that they learn those rules, those patterns, and then they're able to apply it later on. So the intervention that we used was repeated readings or whole class choral reading. We used the comprehension plus in order to both build comprehension and that repeated reading skill of fluency. When I implemented it, I chose short passages no longer than 150 words from Comprehension Plus Level A. I implemented it weekly with the 6 students, daily, and then to engage them, I use those reading sticks to track, and I know that you've been using those too.
Right. And then how did you gauge their comprehension?
So for the comprehension, there were comprehension questions as a part that went with the text, and then I would just have them answer it, and we would, if it was a short answer, I would have them restate the question and then answer it from there. So I had to make some modifications. After week 1, I noticed that the level A was too easy for them, and I know that you made the same switch, and we moved to level B, which was more of a second grade level. The second modification I made was my students were playing with the sticks during the first read, so I had to modify that so they had to track with their reading the regular finger first, then the second read, they were able to use it.
And then did you do the same things? I know I had them, like for the phonetic part of it, did you have them follow a certain rule, like when they went through the text the first time, like look for certain word patterns?
Yes, so I didn't do it on the first read, but on the second read I would have them highlight some of those phonetic sounds. So here is what I collected for my 6 students, the data. I collected their words correct per minute for 4 weeks. And most students made a gradual increase of their words, and a lot of them got close to that initial benchmark of 89, so there was 2 students who got pretty close at 58 words per minute and 71 words per minute. So I found that the intervention is working. The average growth for students was 6.9, and I found that from averaging the weekly growth for each student. 66% of the students made steady growth, whereas 1 went their score went down and then back up again, and the other one only made a small amount of growth.
So what would you do for those students then? What would your next steps be for those students who really didn't make growth?
So I was thinking about, for one of the students, maybe making the passage easier, the text easier, because I can tell that their reading level is different than the rest of the group. Do you have any suggestions? Do you have anything?
Well, I was just thinking like exactly the same thing. Like I wonder if their reading level was maybe a little lower than the other kids, and maybe check with the homeroom teacher and check their DRA and maybe go from there. Yeah, that was the same thought I had.
And then one student, like I said, made unusual gains during their 4 weeks of interventions with a steady increase and then slight decline at week 3. Overall, it indicates that the intervention does work for this particular group of students, and it will continue using it. For next steps, some things I considered and I'd like your feedback on. Continue using the intervention, continue using Comprehension Plus Level B for most students, maybe alter it for that other student. Keep using it for at least 12 weeks, and then graph the data after 6 weeks to share maybe with faculty in a staff meeting or in a PLC, and then of course communicate that data to the students and to parents.
I think you're on the right track. I'd be curious to see how they would do on that Bellarmine assessment that we took as far as phonemes go. And we had to do that spelling test.
Yes.
I would like to see where a lot of them fall, if they would be kind of separate like they are in here, like where you notice those 2 students being a lot lower than the other 3.
So possibly I could implement that at the end of my 12
the end.
weeks, prior to them going to the next grade level. Thank you very much for meeting with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Wonderful.
I know that was